September bass fishing. Multiple categories, multiple baits within each category, and some bonus baits as well. Hello and welcome. What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be talking to you about my top 5 or 6 confidence bait categories, early fall bass fishing techniques for that September to like November-ish time frame. So some of us were already having full-blown cold snaps, moving our way into actual fall. Some of the countries behind, and then if you're like me here in Texas, we're like sort of just barely starting to get little glimpses of that, what we like to call false fall. We sort of have a fake fall, and then it gets hot again usually, and then all of a sudden we'll actually go into fall. That doesn't occur until like a couple, 3-4 months from now. Like, we really don't start getting really cold here in Texas until it's like officially winter. But with that being said, the days are getting shorter. My homie Big Dog, the buck out front, he's already scraped off all the velvet.
Looking good. Got all that velvet scraped off, I see. Antlers ready to rip through one of these other younger bucks out here, huh? Let them know you ain't playing with them, Big Dog. That's my dude. Big Dog on the block. Everybody say hi to Big Dog. What a big dog.
And pretty soon the deer will be rutting around, and as soon as that starts happening, the fish start happening as well. You won't be hanging out with these doe anymore. They'll split off, the bucks will be rutting around, the doe will be running. But whenever this process starts, whenever we get to this point right here, where specifically in the South or here in Texas, it's not cold outside. It's really not even cool outside. We've had a couple cooler nights, but the temperature has only dropped a little bit for the most part. It's still getting hot during the day. That doesn't matter. The days are getting shorter, and the animals know. The fish know. So whenever I see the bucks starting to rut, whenever I see this process starting up here on dry land, I know that that's the cue for me to at least start thinking about fall fishing, the fall transition. Sort of an overplayed term in the bass fishing world now. You hear everybody talking about the fall transition. Well, what is it? Sort of depends on where you are in the country. Some people are already breaking out the hoodies. We're not quite there yet here in Texas, but the days are getting shorter. The deer already know the deal, and the fish know the deal as well. So pretty soon we're gonna have to adjust and start adapting our approach catching fish for the fall. And I personally love this time of year. I love fall fishing. It's a time of year when I get to throw some of my favorite baits that I have some of the highest confidence in. And while I do utilize some of these techniques in different parts of the year, the fall time is when the bass really start cracking off on some of this stuff, and the bite just gets super fun. Whenever the water starts cooling down, the bass just go on bait fish feeding frenzies, and it's a time that I get to really utilize some techniques that I gravitate towards and have the most fun throwing. So I'm gonna talk to you about some of those fall time bass fishing techniques. I'm gonna run through these piles of baits that I have laid out here in front of me with as much detail as I can possibly remember to speak on. As I make these videos for you guys, I'm always just speaking stream of consciousness, off the dome, as they say. No scripts, no pre-planning. I come in here with an idea, I fire up the camera, and I just start talking. So I'm gonna try to remember to be thorough and go through this to the best of my ability. Talk to you guys about the gear that I'm using to throw each one of these baits, but really it's just gonna be a fun tackle talking video. And like I said, I have some bonus baits over here that you might not have thought about. Some of this stuff is, you know, pretty standard when it comes to the fall time bite, but I feel like I make some personal adjustments to some of the stuff that you would typically see guys throwing in the fall time, and I switch out I make a couple substitutions. This is just what I have confidence in and what I start thinking about doing once the weather starts cooling off. This isn't me telling you what you should be doing. I'm simply sharing with you what has worked for me in the past and what I plan to do this year as soon as that water starts cooling off. We've had a couple nights where it's been like 69 degrees. And I know that's not cold for some of you guys, especially up north, but here in Texas, that's like, ooh, boy, getting a little brisk out here, dude. 60s at nighttime. Well, that's just a good time here in Texas. Pretty soon, it'll be dipping down into the 50s, and this fall bite will really crack off. But the days are getting shorter. Regardless of what the daytime temps are, it's still getting hot during the day. Nights get a little bit cooler. The sun goes down a little bit sooner. The bucks start getting ready to do their thing. And somehow the fish just know, all right, it's about to be fall time. And that's your clue to start thinking about some of this stuff. So I think that's a long-winded enough of an intro. And I'm just gonna jump right off into the baits, the techniques, the stuff that I'm gonna be doing this fall time to target largemouth bass. I want to remind you guys, any of the 6th Sense stuff that I'm gonna show you some stuff that's not from 6th Sense in this video, but anything that you see from 6th Sense that you might be interested in trying, JR10 is my personal discount code that you can use to secure the heaters, save the bread, and support the movement at the same time. You can save yourself some money and you can support the channel and help us continue to make free fishing content for everybody here on YouTube. So shout outs to the JR10 Army. Sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting me like you do. You're the fuel to the fire, and I couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. Also want to remind you guys really quick that my signature line of fishing rods are also available on 6thsensefishing.com, and JR10 will knock $15 off the price of every Heater Series rod that you purchase. Comes with this really sick sleeve with the heater graphic, 24-ton Japanese graphite blank, designed with versatility, durability, and sensitivity in mind. I have a rod for every single one of the techniques that you're gonna see me talk about in this video. That right there was that 7/8 extra heavy swim bait special, and there are some swim baits on this list. So let's jump right off into the fall baits now that we have all that out of the way. I'm gonna go with my favorite fall time technique to start this one off. Some of you guys can probably guess already. When those nighttime air temperatures start getting cooler, and then subsequently the water temperature starts to get cooler, I always get ready and excited to tie on a square bill. I've got a few different examples here in front of me, but this little guy right here is my go-to fall time cooler water hitter. This is the Curve Finesse square bill in shad scales from 6th Sense. I've caught so many fish on this bait in the cooler months. It's so deadly. Smaller profile, finesse size, shad scales. It's a bold white shad color, and it has those live scales on the side of it. So you got a little bit of flash added in there. We're gonna talk more about flash in this video when it comes to fall fishing. But this small little finesse square bill, this is my number one for the fall time. I can fish it super shallow. This thing's running like 1.5 feet. You can throw it up into 1 foot of water or less. I mean, you can throw it up dirt shallow. I fish this thing right off the bank. When those bass cruising the shallows, looking for stuff to murk along the shoreline, this is my favorite little square bill to throw right here. The shad scales Curve Finesse square bill. The Curve Finesse is a square bill that 6th Sense built sort of based off the Curve 55. As you can see, the body type's very similar. They have that tapered tail with the curved design. You see how the body curves on both of these? But the difference being the Curve 55, smaller profile, medium diver, small profile, super shallow diver, a bank beater heater right here. The square bill, excellent way to target these shallow fall time feeding bass. This one right here is my go-to, but there are a couple other really good options as well. You got the Spro Little John or the Spro Fat John, like this guy right here. Picked him up at Tackle Shack ATX recently. Really cool pink color on there. It's called Herring Pink. 1 to 3 foot, super shallow bait. I'm throwing these things up dirt shallow. I'm talking about if I can catch a bass that has a freaking campsite with a tent and a campfire and a little folding camping chair, and he's sitting up there on dry land, that's some of my favorite fishing to do. I love catching them dirt shallow. So these baits, as you can see, they're shallow diving hard baits, shallow diving square bills. Couple Spro square bills right there. Also this guy, don't sleep on this guy. This is that PD4 super heater in Morning Dawn. This is the new 6th Sense Finesse flat-sided square bill. It's also silent. Oh my God, and the hooks are insane. The sharpest freaking hooks on this bait. No rattles, super silent, tournament ready, high grade, laser sharp hooks and quality hardware on the Pressure Series hard baits. The PD4 being the shallowest and the smallest in the Pressure Series. That right there is another killer option for the fall time. And then last but not least, we couldn't get through this category without mentioning this guy. As you can see, I already have it tied on right here. It's my favorite square bill of all time. That is the Crush 50X from 6th Sense. Same thing as that curved finesse I showed you, bright white with the live scales. But really, you guys know it wouldn't be a full-blown fall time heater breakdown video if we didn't talk about Chester Cheeto, man. When that water starts getting cold, I love throwing this bait. It looks like the most beautiful fall time autumn amber leaf. As soon as it gets submerged underwater, it's bright orange. Chester Cheeto, the Radiation Craw Crush 50X. It's been a staple here on the channel for the longest time, for years. One of the first baits that I ever used from 6th Sense right here. Went down the square bill aisle at Academy, picked up a Radiation Craw Crush 50, and the rest is history. But I couldn't go through this category without talking about that little guy right there. Supreme Confidence. Absolutely love the Crush 50 square bills. Overarching theme here, shallow square billing, dog. That's what it is. Pick your favorite shallow square bill. Go out there, bang lanes through the shallows. Target those shallow bass that are corralling bait along the shoreline, and it is some of the most fun fishing that I personally ever get to do. I do not know what it is, but there is something about catching them on a fast moving hard bait. It's just special. It just feels good to me. I love it. I love, you know, the dance, the balance of getting, especially a big fish, in on treble hooks where you kind of have to have your gear dialed and you have to have your technique and just everything has to go right. You know what I mean? You stick them with a big jig hook, you know, you got them locked down pretty much. But with the square bill, with a crankbait, with the treble hooks, you know, you need everything to go right. You don't want to rip that bait free, but you also don't want to let the tension loose. So there's a lot of things you have to keep in mind and you have to be on top of when you're fighting in, especially the big fish, like I say, when it comes to the square bills. But there's just something about that hard bait, subsurface, treble hook, moving bait bite, especially when they're up shallow. You know, deep cranking is the thing in the summer. You're deep cranking points, offshore flats. It's an excellent way to get bit when it's extremely hot. But something about throwing a square bill up shallow, it's just freaking awesome. I just love it. It's one of the most fun ways, if not the most fun way that I can think of to catch a largemouth bass. And that is why I'm starting out this fall bait breakdown video with the shallow square bills. Let me talk really quickly about the gear that I use to throw any one of those baits that I just talked about. It's gonna be this guy right here. Heater Series, my signature Heater Series rod, 6'9" medium moderate. That's the one for all my shallow square billings. A 6 foot 9 inch medium power, moderate action. So it has extremely parabolic bend to it. It loads up, small but mighty. Don't think that just because this thing isn't a heavy powered rod that it can't handle a dragon or 10 or 20 or 600. Because I caught a lot of dragons on this thing. And it is just locked in, dialed all the way in for throwing the shallow square bills. Sometimes burning the crankbait is the deal, you know, speed cranking, burn, pause. Shout out to Tactical Bassin'. But for me, typically, just generally, I like to throw the square bills on a 6-to-1, especially lately, past few years. This one right here, I have the SLX XT 6.3-to-1 from Shimano, 12-pound fluorocarbon line. 12 or 15 are the two sizes of line that I use for my square bills. I want to have as much durability as possible without inhibiting the dive depth or the action of the bait. 12 to 15 I feel works perfectly for that. There's been zebra mussels in my lake in the past, and I'm sure they'll eventually make a resurgence. So these are all things that I have to think about when I'm banging a square bill around in the shallows. I don't want my line to get torched so fast, so I typically stay away from 10 and I go with 12 or 15. But that right there, a 6-to-1 reel, 12 to 15 pound fluorocarbon, and a shorter, medium power rod that has a good parabolic bend to it, that's the deal. But again, can't even begin to tell you how badass of a square bill rod this 6-9 medium moderate heater is. It's extremely versatile. This rod can do a lot, but this might be my favorite thing to do with it right here. You're gonna see this rod make a couple more appearances in this video because there are some other techniques laid out here that we will have to use it for. But this right here, this is probably my favorite way to use it. Square bill, up shallow, fall time feeders. That's just a good time. I mean, that's just a dang old good time. But let's move on to category number 2. Category number 2, probably my second favorite. Honestly, we're going through these in order of both importance and favoritism. Like, this is the cycle that I would probably go through. Not only is this like the bait selection that I would have on deck, but this is also the order in which I would cycle through these baits, because one, if I can get bit on a square bill, that's what I'm gonna do. As mentioned just a moment ago, it's one of my favorite ways to catch fish. If I can't get bit like that, this next technique right here, well, this one ain't too bad either. If you've been following me for any amount of time, especially back in the beginning when we first started gaining some traction here with our fishing videos, you saw me throw this one a lot. And there's actually a couple different baits in this category. And the 2 baits that I have here to talk about, they're similar, but they're different. They're very different actually. They're gonna do 2 very different things, but I put them in the same category because, well, you're gonna see. Next up, the next bait that I'm gonna be utilizing this fall to try to put bass in the boat. Shit, got shit on my shirt, dog. Get off my shirt. Probably comes as no surprise to many of you, but it's gonna be a swim jig, a divine swim jig, specifically some sort of shad pattern. Bluegill patterns will play a role here, but when it comes to throwing a swim jig in the fall, this right here is my favorite, 3/8 ounce Pro Green Divine Swim Jig from 6th Sense, available now in the heater sack on 6thsensefishing.com. It's a really cool bundle that I worked with 6th Sense to put together. I hand selected every bait in every color that is in the heater sack. They sold out, and then last I heard we were working on making some new ones. So keep your eyes peeled for the heater sack to be back on the site. But the Divine Swim Jig is one of the baits that you get in the heater sack in the 3/8 ounce Pro Green color. That's that one. Former PB getter caught a 9.5 pound bass on this one fall here on my home lake. And my favorite bait to pair with it, the Kitech Fat Swing Impact 3.8 in Sexy Shad. That's it. The specific colors, weights, sizes, everything. That's my go-to swim jig combo right there. Such a killer pairing. I even have one right here on the table. This one's been through the ringer. Even cut the weed guard off of that guy. Sometimes I will cut the weed guard off depending if I'm fishing around brush or wood. If I'm not, if I'm like in open water, or if I'm just fishing through big boulders and rocks that I can come through fairly easily without having to worry about getting snagged, I'll cut that weed guard off just like that. But that's a Pro Green with that Kitech Fat Swing Impact on the back of it. And the swim jig is just one of my all-time favorite techniques. It's one of my favorite ways to catch fish, sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum from what we were talking about with that square bill. When you got the trebles, you gotta make sure your drag is dialed, play the balance. Freaking swim jig, dude, you just swing them, crack them, drag them. That's what's up. Swing on them, crack on them, drag them to the boat. The swim jig, killer fall time option. Again, 3/8 ounce, so I'm just fishing it super shallow. Also in this same category. Same, but different. This next bait is one that looks the same as a swim jig, but with one key major difference. I'm talking, of course, about a bladed jig, the jackhammer, something with a little flash to it. So it's like a swim jig, added vibration and added flash. When you want something a little more subtle, maybe the fish aren't as aggressive, maybe they are, for whatever reason, not hitting a square bill. Maybe the rattles are messing with them a little bit. Maybe the flash on those scales has got them, you know, a little bit too tuned into that not being real. That's when a swim jig is gonna come into play. But when they're extremely aggressive, they're smashing the square bill, they're honed in, keyed in on the vibration and the color and the vibrance, the flashiness of those scales, that's when something like this. It's just another fun bait. Come on, man. Everybody loves throwing a dang bladed jig. The jackhammer, that's my go-to, but they have some really good smaller options available. I'll show you one here in just a second. But some kind of jackhammer, a bladed jig, whether it be in a pure white shad profile. I know a lot of people really love that red, myself included. That's that fire crawl with that bongo on the back of it. Or even something in more of a sunfish or bluegill style pattern can also be really good, because late summertime, that's when all the bluegill are up shallow. You know, the bluegill spawn has happened, so you're just seeing tons of bluegill all up in the shallows. That happens right at the end of summer. So, you know, a bluegill pattern bladed jig, pick your poison, man, whatever color you have confidence in. I feel like the two things that you should have at the ready are a shad pattern and some sort of bluegill pattern, just to cover the bases. But mixing that red in, especially when it gets a little bit cooler, this is gonna be the deal. So those are sort of the two baits that I put into this category. Freaking swim jig, dude. A Divine swim jig, my favorite swim jig on the planet. This is the first bait that I ever threw from 6th Sense right here. I think it was Pro Blue, the Divine swim jig, same old story. Went down the aisle at Academy. I was throwing a Strike King swim jig and I kept breaking them. The rubber band was coming out, a little cheap rubber band that Strike King uses. I was going through swim jigs like crazy, and I was in Academy and I was like, I want to try a different swim jig. And that's when I saw the Divine swim jig on the peg, very small section back then for 6th Sense in Academy. And I looked at the head mold. I looked at the design of the head mold and the sculpt that they used to create the head portion of the bait. And it caught my eye and I said, dang, I really like the detail in that. It looks like they put a lot of thought into the way they shaped this bait, and the color looks incredible. And that was it, dude. I bought that Divine swim jig, maybe grabbed a couple of them if I'm not mistaken. And I started throwing the 6th Sense Divine swim jig, Pro Blue, 3/8 ounce here on my home lake. And I started smashing. And not only did I start smashing, but the bait lasted longer. It looked better. It swam better. It was higher quality in every imaginable way. And that is what started building my supreme confidence in 6th Sense fishing. And I've been working with 6th Sense, my one and only fishing partner, since 2019. Big shout outs to 6th Sense Fishing for supporting me and helping me do what I do. You guys would not be seeing free videos from me on YouTube were it not for 6th Sense Fishing believing in me and giving me an opportunity. And we went to work, and then we were able to build a really awesome, strong working relationship. And the people at that company are not just my friends, but they are like my family. They have got me through, stood by me, stuck with me, and supported me through the literal darkest times of my life. They have supported this channel, my content, and enabled me to continue doing what I love, both here in front of the tackle wall and out there on the water, for literally years. 6 years, going on 6 years now of history that I built with that company. And I will not listen to anyone say anything about me talking about 6th Sense baits just because they sponsored me. Oh no, you've got it so twisted, my friend. There's been a little bit of negativity creeping its way into my aura lately, and I don't like that. I don't like seeing that. I don't deal with that. I don't put up with it. I don't allow it to infiltrate my sphere here at Heaters Only LLC. In case you didn't know, Heaters Only LLC. You want to become a member of Heaters Only LLC and forever secure your spot at the board meetings? Click that subscribe button right now. Help us grow this sucker. But I have a lot of history with 6th Sense. I bought and used, loved, and believed in their baits long before Casey Sobsack and I ever had our first conversation. So keep that in mind next time you want to give me some guff for promoting my friend's company and for working with people that have believed in me and supported me, just like I believe in and support them for literally years. I would never recommend that you guys purchase or try a product that I don't use and believe in myself. So please keep that in mind. Yes, there are 6th Sense baits on this list, among others, and there is a lot of 6th Sense on the wall back here, but it's because I genuinely believe in, trust, and use these products every single time I'm on the water. And if you want to see some of my fishing content, well, those videos are here on the channel for you as well. If you think that I'm just promoting 6th Sense because they give me money to do that, you've lost the plot, sir. Go back, venture through the history. I assure you, the truth is out there. That's my category number 2, man. A swim jig or a bladed jig. And let me talk really quickly about the gear that I would use to throw these baits. First up, when it comes to the swim jig, as you can see, I got another Pro Green 3/8 ounce Divine swim jig tied on right here. This is like my, you know what I mean? This is like Excalibur right here. Shimano Metanium, 7.1 to 1 on the gear ratio, 17 pound fluorocarbon, 7.4 medium heavy, moderate fast heater series swim jig rod. I designed this rod specifically for throwing the Divine swim jig, and that is what I do with it a lot. I love throwing a swim jig on this setup right here. It's absolutely dialed. You can skip great with it. Excellent castability. The action is moderate fast, so it loads up a bit deeper into the rod blank than like your typical 7.3 medium heavy fast action rod that you would find at any tackle shop. You know, the most common powers and actions of rods. I wanted to step outside of that and have a line of rods that really had that true moving bait profile. You know, the mod fast parabolic bend, but it still has enough backbone to drive home that swim jig hook, keep them pinned, and drag them to the boat. Got a bongo on the back of that swim jig right there. My 2 favorite swim jig trailers. Talked about the Kitech Fat Swing Impact 3.8 a moment ago, but the bongo, both on the back of a swim jig and a bladed jig, killer option. You just kind of have to figure out what you want to mimic, whether it be a little bit more craw profile or a little bit more shad profile. That being said, the bongo kicks incredible. It's got awesome kick to it, so it still swims really well. Those are the 2 that I use, but no matter what I'm doing, if I'm throwing a swim jig, I'm throwing it on this setup right here. 7.4 medium heavy mod fast heater series rod, Shimano Metanium in this case. Corrado 200 does great in either a 6 or a 7 to 1. Fish a little bit slower with that 7 to 1 just to keep that bait from rising, especially if it's a lighter weight. But man, this combo right here caught so many fish on it, and it's just truly dialed for the swim jig. You can throw a chatterbait on this too. You can throw a bladed jig on this, but I have something a little bit shorter that was specifically made for bladed jigs. Let's talk about that one real quick. So the rod changes just a little bit for the bladed jig, and so does the reel. Shimano SLX MGL 70, 6.3 to 1 on the gear ratio for the bladed jigs. 7.2 medium heavy mod fast heater series rod. Now, same power and action, but just 2 inches shorter. Why is that? Those targeted bladed jig casts where you're just turning and burning, going down, throwing at cover, fishing really shallow, firing at targets, you know, high probability locations, the shorter length. There's just something about it that makes fishing this thing with a bladed jig there's something about it. This rod right here you can do so much with. I've done videos in the past on every single one of the heater series rods and all the techniques that I use each one for, but the bladed jig, the jackhammer, the chatterbait, this is my chatterbait heater, the 7.2. That's what I had in mind when I designed that rod, so that is what I use it for. So that's my go-to for the jackhammer, that SLX 70 MGL from Shimano. Love that real shallow spool. Again, 17 pound fluoro, cracking them with the jackhammer. That's one of my new favorite jackhammer colors right there. It's called Smallmouth Magic. And that right there, I guess I should talk about that on the back, right? That's my favorite jackhammer trailer. That's the Flush 5.2 from 6th Sense, and it is killer on the back of a bladed jig. That thing dances around and swims like nobody's business. And that's the deadliest jackhammer trailer I've ever used right there. Really quickly before we move on, let's talk about this little guy right here. So I talked about bluegill pattern bladed jigs. I talked about some one-off options that I was gonna show you, and I talked about smaller profile. And that's what we got going on right here. This is the 7.5 medium moderate. So a little bit longer on this one, but it's a softer rod. And this is the rod that I love to throw the chatterbait mini max on. This one is the new Evo chatterbait elite mini max. And as you can see, got a really killer bluegill profile paired up with the new Bongo 3.5, the little finesse creature bait from 6th Sense. That's an awesome little matchup that I just created at random. And I think those claws, the ribbon claws on the back of this small profile bladed jig, that's gonna be a killer. I haven't had a chance to throw it yet, but I'm definitely going to. Like I said, right now the bluegill are up shallow. But this is my small profile, my finesse profile bladed jig rod right here. 7.5 medium moderate. You know, that's all it takes. That's all it needs. I've caught some dragons on it. I put it to the test. It loads up great. For whatever reason, I really love throwing the small profile bladed jigs on this 7.5 medium moderate. I just tried it one day and fell in love with it. It's another Corrado on there, 15 or 17 pound fluorocarbon. And I just wanted to throw this option out there to, one, show you that, you know, the bluegill colors are something that I'm still thinking about even here in early fall. And then to mention that this 7.5 medium moderate heater is killer for throwing the small profile bladed jig. So don't sleep on it, especially if you like throwing the mini max. All right, next up for fall time, let's talk topwater. One of the most fun ways that any bass angler could ever hope to catch a largemouth bass is up top. And in the fall time is one of the best times to do it. A couple different baits that I'm gonna utilize personally that I gravitate towards in the fall time right here. A lot of guys are gonna put a frog on this list. Your traditional hollow body frog like this awesome lily pad colored Vega Hush frog from 6th Sense. But me personally, type of frog that I'm gonna be throwing here as we creep our way into fall, it's gonna be something like this right here. Now, we took a look at this specific bait in my last video. I came out with this new color right here. But this is the Buzzgill, Black and Blue Pro Buzzgill from 6th Sense. And this is like your topwater paddle frog. It's kicking. This thing is gonna kick. It's gonna make sort of like a buzzbait type commotion, but more subtle. It sort of gurgles is the best way I can describe it. It's a very, not quite as an abrasive sound as a buzzbait. A lot of people would also probably put a buzzbait on this list, but for me, my confidence this fall is gonna be in something like this right here, and I'm definitely gonna be throwing this around until I can't anymore. The Buzzgill super heater of a topwater frog style bait that incorporates some other action that could mimic some other topwater. But my primary go-to when it comes to the topwater category, it's gonna be something like this right here. This is the Catwalk from 6th Sense. Topwater walking bait, can cover water, make a long bomber cast, walk this thing back out into open water from the shallows, across points, parallel down the bank, fishing along bluff walls. I mean, I throw this thing anytime there's a potential for a topwater bite. Chances are you see me with the Catwalk tied on, and the top water bite is gonna get good again really soon here in the fall time. It actually never went away. Some days were tougher than others, but summertime is topwater time. But that potential, that topwater potential is gonna carry on through all the way through the fall, and the fish are super aggressive when they're chasing in the fall time. So to get blown up on a topwater walking bait, I mean, that's just magical. Who doesn't want to do that? Check out this one right here is the Magnum Catwalk if you want something a little bit bigger. Typically, I'm going to be throwing the regular Catwalk or the Dogma 100. There's an old, I think that's Ghost Shad Dogma 100 that I've caught so many fish on. Need to replace the hooks on that. But the Heater Shad Magnum Catwalk, I'm quite partial to. Heater Shad being my signature color that 6th Sense did. It's available in the Pressure Series crankbaits, the Trace, the Magnum Catwalk, and we got some other heater stuff from 6 Cents out there available as well. You guys shop around and grab yourself some heater shad hard baits. Really proud of the pattern that we came up with, and I just love the way we did the live scales with the Magnum catwalk. So a walking bait, and if I'm gonna throw something that is meant to perhaps could be mimicking a frog, I'm gonna be throwing the buzzgill. And there are a couple different reasons for that. One, I like the versatility and the added action that the buzzgill has. It's throw it out there, you know, reel it back. I'm covering water faster. I don't have to, if I'm gonna walk the bait, maybe I would walk a frog, I'm gonna be throwing the walking bait. So otherwise, I wanna throw something with some added action, some buzz, some gurgle, and that's where that buzzgill is gonna come into play. I'm not really throwing the prop style baits too much in the fall. I'm just not on the best hollow body frog lake. I can get bit a lot better in my conditions with something like this in the fall than I can with something like this. So that's really the only reason that I'm substituting the buzzgill in for the traditional hollow body frog. But for those of you guys that are out there on the good frog waters, this right here is an excellent fall time option. Let me talk really quickly about the rod that I would use to throw these baits really quick, the walking bait and the buzzgill. So I actually have the buzzgill tied on right now on the 7.4 medium heavy mod fast heater. That's that swim jig rod I talked to you about a minute ago. 7.4 medium heavy mod fast is all you need. Throwing it weightless on a 5/0 EWG hook on straight braid, just like that, and burning it back to the boat, and they absolutely annihilate it. Shimano Corrado DC, 7.4 to 1 on the gear ratio, but the 7.4 medium heavy mod fast heater is plenty powerful to crack a hook set and get a fish to the boat, even on a topwater frog like this, and it really loads up great. I have the 7.5 heavy fast heater that I would throw like a heavier topwater plopper style bait or even a bigger frog on, but the 7.4 medium heavy, man, you don't need a broomstick to do most types of frogging, let's be honest. I mean, a lot of people like to frog with that extra heavy, but unless you're in like super thick vegetation and grass mats where the potential need to horse a fish out of like massive clumps of cover exists, you don't really need a broomstick pool cue of a rod to go frogging. And the 7.4 medium heavy mod fast is perfect for the buzzgill. Straight braid, you know the deal. Corrado reel, fire it out there, burn it back. They're dumb enough to hit it, get their wig blown back. That's that buzzgill, baby. Then when it comes to the topwater walking bait, this is a rod that you've seen and you will see make its appearance yet again later in this video. The 6.9 medium moderate heater. Super versatile. It's probably the rod out of the entire heater series lineup that I use for the most applications. But a walking bait, I mean, you want to talk about effortlessly walking the 6.9 medium moderate, that's where it's at. Shorter length, softer rod, even with that big catwalk, even with the Magnum, I throw it on the same rod, dude. As you can see, I got the Dogma 100 tied on right now. A little bit smaller profile on that bait. Again, straight braid, Shimano Corrado 200 7.4 to 1. That's the deal. My 6.9 medium moderate heater series walking bait rod. I mean, you can go all day. You start walking a walking bait with a heavier, stiffer rod, 2-3 hours in, your wrist is aching, your hands starting to cramp up. This right here, all day on the lake, baby, chopping and dropping. That's the move. That's my walking bait heater right there. Can't wait to get some more blow ups. Been throwing this off and on through the summer, but the walking bait bite's gonna get really good in the colder months. So you should have this at the ready if you want to. If not, don't. I don't really care what anybody else does. I only care what I do. And I'll share what I do with you because we all love making fishing videos, watching fishing videos, talking about fishing, talking about baits. So that's all I'm doing here, guys. I'm just letting you guys into my mindset, not telling you what you should be doing. I know a bunch of you guys are gonna go out there and tie on a hollow body frog and a big old heavy jig, and you're gonna be getting it done out there in the fall time no matter what old JR says, right? For me, this is just what I'm gonna be doing, and I am enjoying sharing it with you so far. So hopefully you're enjoying the video as well. If you are, click the like button or I'm gonna freaking do something. I'm gonna put this stroker craw in the bucket down under the table. So that's gonna wrap up the top water category for this video. It's gonna be a walking bait or the buzzgill for me in the fall time. Next up, what should we do? I know what we should do. Let's talk swim baits. Gotta have a swim bait category for the fall time. Now, when I say swim bait, a lot of people think big bait. A lot of people think, hinkle shad or the hangover, the draw, something big swim bait. So in the fall time, I'm thinking medium, schmedium swim bait. That's where my mind goes. Something like this KGB little guy right here, little KGB choppy glide, small profile, or something like this little custom painted bluegill multi-joint from my buddy Austin that's sent into the channel. We looked at this in a previous video. That's a killer option. Like I said, bunch of bluegill that look just like that. Same size and same color, up shallow right now as we film this. So that's an awesome option. But my two go-tos for the fall time, gonna be these guys right here. Let's put this one down. You guys see that one already. Oh, gotta show this one real quick too. That little sick crappie pattern on a little multi-joint. That's also from my dude Austin. Sent me some baits, but this right here, let's look at this one. We talked about the KGB little guy, little choppy glide. And I feel like being able to fish a little bit faster with not such an intimidating bait profile. For me, in my head, my mentality, I think that's part of the key for throwing swim baits in the fall time. I want something that has a little bit more drawing power, but that is not so intimidating, but also that I can fish a little bit faster. So with all of that in mind, that is why in the fall time, I really gravitate towards this guy right here. This is the Pro's Choice Draw 6.5 from 6 Cents. I'll throw this on the 7.5 Heavy Fast Heater Series rod. Straight fluorocarbon, of course. Look at this freaking color though. Man, that thing looks so good. Beautiful color. The Pro's Choice. It's one of the newer patterns that 6 Cents came out with on their hard baits. And the Draw 6.5 is just, it has just enough glide, chop, hybridism. Is that even a word? It is a good mix. It's a good balance between like a glide bait, but that you can still kind of chop and fish a little faster. So I like throwing the smaller draw in the fall time, but my favorite, not just my favorite for the fall, but my favorite of all time, the 6-inch Trace multi-joint. And if for whatever reason they won't hit this, if this is just too much, too fast, I'm gonna switch over to the draw. So that's sort of like the 1-2 punch that I have in mind. A smaller profile glide that I can fish a little bit faster, like the little guy, or the Draw 6.5, something like that right there. Or a small to medium sized multi-joint. Those are my swim bait go-tos for the fall time. I mean, throwing these baits around in the fall time, you might slip up and catch a legit dragon. So always gonna have those at the ready. When it comes to the Trace multi-joint and this small finesse profile multi-joint that I just showed you, I mentioned that heater shad Trace a minute ago. Well, here it is, my signature color. This is the first bait we ever did in this color. The prototypes were actually painted on a 6-inch Trace. That's that heater shad right there. And I've got this paired up with a 7.7 Sensory Series rod from 6 Cents. 7.7 Heavy Fast. Really like this rod. It's one of the older rod models from 6 Cents from back in the day. But this 7.7 Heavy Fast is awesome for throwing. You know, it's not such a huge, it's not a big swim bait, but it's a bigger multi-joint swim bait. Currently have the SLX DC in 7.2-1. I like fishing the Trace fast. The 7-to-1 reel. So I have that locked in right there on the Sensory. I think this is 20 pound, 17 or 20 pound fluorocarbon for throwing the multi-joint there. Really killer setup. I'll also throw it on that 7.8 extra heavy fast swim bait special rod that I showed you from the heater series earlier in that awesome sleeve. But this is a setup that I've used for a long time to throw the Trace. I feel like it's sort of a sleeper that a lot of people might not think about for throwing a swim bait. 7.7 heavy fast does an excellent job. But when it comes to a little finesse profile multi-joint like this right here, that chatterbait heater that I talked about does a really good job of throwing it. I would also throw this bait on the 7.5 medium moderate heater that we talked about for the small profile bladed jig. Excellent rod for throwing the lighter multi-joints, but the 7.2 medium heavy mod fast, killer option as well. And as you can see, I have one of those little bluegill multi-joints tied on right now. Had one crack this thing last time I was out fishing, but I just didn't get a hook at them. We'll get them next time. Killer setup, Corrado 200. Again, I think that's 17 pound fluorocarbon on there. 6.2 to 1 on the gear ratio. And that is because I cut a bladed jig off of this bladed jig heater to tie on this multi-joint. If you're still here, click the like button. I know this video is getting long, but I'm enjoying going through these baits with you. Have a couple more categories here and then some bonus baits as well. So hopefully you guys are comfortable and you're locked in with me talking fall time fishing. Next up, we're gonna bounce over here to this side of the table and I'm gonna talk about the minnow option, because you gotta have minnow options for the fall time. Bass are gonna start keying in on smaller schools of bait fish, bigger schools of smaller bait fish. You know what I'm trying to say? Something with a small minnow profile. You gotta have that at the ready in the fall time. I have some bonus baits set off to the side here I'm gonna talk to you about towards the end of the video, but the main part of the category over here, we're looking at this kind of stuff. Minnow imitators. And we're gonna go surface to subsurface right here. So first up, it should come as no surprise that I love throwing a weightless jerk bait, a soft plastic weightless jerk bait, something that I have tied on 388 days a year. And there's not even that many days in a year. So Zoom Salty Super Fluke, that right there. The lavender shad. Talked about this guy earlier, my favorite chatterbait trailer and my favorite soft plastic jerk bait ever, the Flush 5.2 from 6 Cents. You see this compared to the Fluke, a little bit more detail, a little bit bulkier, a little bit heavier. You got these side fins, split dorsal fin. You got this molded in ball right here on the tail. This thing just swims a little bit different. The Flush just has more detail. I love the added weight so I can cast it further, but both of these baits are two baits that I still fish. Throwing them weightless, 4/0 EWG light wire hook. Gamakatsu EWG 4/0 is what I prefer, but pairing these up with the lighter wire hook, throwing them weightless, letting them dance along the surface or just slightly subsurface in that upper 1 foot of water. That's where these are gonna shine. You know, I'm throwing these into boils, blowups if I see a school, and I'm also fishing it right along the bank, just like I would that square bill of that swim jig, throwing it up shallow towards the campsite that I can see where there's largemouth bass sitting in his folding chair, trying to catch them right off the bank on the Flush, the Fluke, the weightless jerk bait. That's a good time right there. 6 Cents also recently came out with the Shindo. Now I see some of the pros and some of the bigger name guys fishing this like with a ball head, jig head on it, sort of shaking it like a minnow bait, but you can see what I plan on doing with it right there. I'm gonna be throwing this thing around weightless, just like the Flush or the Fluke, and I'm gonna fish that just like that right there. No weight. But when you do need to get down a little bit deeper and you need to infiltrate the lower parts of the water column, 6 Cents has a couple really awesome options. The Strobe Shaker and the Strobe Minnow do a really good job of that. This right here would be my recommendation if you're just starting out with the minnow stuff. The Juggle. Not only does it make a killer chatterbait mini max trailer, but 6 Cents makes proprietary tackle that was specifically designed to pair up with the Juggle minnow. So this is the Juggle lock head. They also have the Juggle head jig heads that have the hook. They've taken out all the guesswork. The pieces of Juggle terminal tackle match up so effortlessly with the Juggle minnow and create some really killer minnow profile baits. The Juggle underspin, specifically my favorite, especially for fall time. It's got a little blade on it. You can see it really good on forward facing sonar, but that's not the point here. You don't have to have live scope to fish the minnow bait. Bass eat minnows whether you're firing a sonar beam at them or not. The juggle, so versatile. You could throw it weightless. You could even throw this weightless like a fluke. But when you pair it up with one of those juggle heads and you fire this out into some of those schools, like maybe you're fishing the fluke, you're throwing it into the blow ups, you see a school boiling and rolling, and for whatever reason they're not hitting this along the surface. You get this down there a little bit deeper, especially with that juggle underspin. I'm telling you, having a minnow bait option, whether it be weightless jerk bait or a subsurface minnow for the fall time, killer. Such a killer in the fall time. Have to have it at the ready, no matter what. Some kind of minnow profile bait fish imitator that you can fish into bait balls, into schools when they're chasing, and up shallow. That's where these minnow type baits are gonna come in. When it comes to gear, when it comes to what I use to throw these baits, you guys have heard me talk about it a million times here on the channel, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but I told you that 6'9" medium moderate heater was gonna make another appearance in this video. And when it comes to throwing a fluke, a flush, any type of jerk bait, whether it be hard or soft, like I said, versatility, that's the name of the game when it comes to the heater series. It's gonna be this 6'9" medium moderate heater right here. This one right here, matched up with the Shimano SLX DC70, a little JDM goodness for you right there. Straight 15-pound fluorocarbon, straight 4/0 EWG light wire Gamakatsu hook, weightless, and a Ghost Ice Minnow flush 5.2. I'm talking about, that's the one. That's that one right there, dude. Throwing both the fluke and the flush on this setup right here, as well as the Shindo. When it comes to the juggle minnow, for right now, I'm picking up this guy right here. This is my 7-foot medium fast spinning heater. I actually have a little finesse Swimbait tied on right here that one of my customers was using on one of the guided trips that I ran, which is actually not a bad option for the fall time. But if I was gonna throw a little juggle minnow, this would be the setup that I would use to do it. This is a little Shimano Sedona 2500. It's a 10-pound braid to 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. We got the spinning heater on deck too. 7-foot medium fast, and that's what I really love to throw the little juggle minnow on. But they just released the juggle series rods from 6th Sense. You guys can check out a rod that was specifically designed, just like that terminal tackle I talked about, to be thrown with the juggle minnow, and I plan on getting my hands on one of those soon so that I can put it to the test and see how it really works for fishing this little bait right here. I'm excited about the new juggle series rods from 6th Sense, and while I do love and utilize my heater series signatures for like 99% of my fishing, I do like to branch out and try some other stuff that 6th Sense has to offer so that I can give you guys my feedback, and I look forward to trying the juggle rods. They dropped yesterday at the time of me filming this. You guys can check those out on 6thsensefishing.com. Punch in that JR10 for the win. But that's the setup for the juggle minnow for me right now. But let's move on to the next fall bait category. All right, I feel like this is where a lot of anglers are gonna put the jig, whether it be a larger profile, full-size jig with a big creature bait on the back of it, like this Axle hybrid jig with that green pumpkin stroker craw, or this finesse jig with that Ned fry on the back of it. But for me, personally, my confidence lies elsewhere, and that is why the next category for my fall fishing is gonna be the creature bait, a small profile, finesse, Texas rigged creature bait. First up on the list, I wanna talk about this guy right here, the Congo 3.8, the Congo craw. This is that black and blue pro color, the new black and blue drop. As you can see, it has some options, and it sort of has a bulkier profile, right? Like I said, I wanna go a little more finesse with this technique. So one thing that the Congo craw enables you to do is sort of select what you want to do with the bait. You can leave it intact, you can leave it whole like this, or you can cut the side pinchers off and just leave the front ones like that right there. Excellent flipping bait. Or you can take these front ones off, which is what I'm going to do. Pop, pop, and you can really shorten that profile down and make it more of a finesse style craw bait. So that right there, Texas rigged with just a little like 1/4 ounce to maybe 3/8 ounce bullet weight. And 6th Sense even has weights that are specifically shaped to pair up perfectly with this bait. They're a little bit flatter. I don't have any here in front of me or I'd show you, but 6th Sense has killer terminal tackle to pair up with every single soft plastic that they make. But the ability to get those front claws off there and shorten this bait down is really important for the fall time. The other baits that I'm going to show you are sort of smaller profile and finesse all on their own with no modification. Like this next one right here, the tried and true OG old school Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Craw. Now I told you I was going to show you some other non 6th Sense options. Perhaps you don't have a big budget and you just want to spend a few dollars, or perhaps you don't want to wait on shipping and you want to go fishing right now and you're just looking for a budget friendly finesse creature bait option to utilize this fall. I recommend the Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Craw in watermelon red. This little guy right here, it's a killer on my home lake. A lot of people throw this bait, which is why I typically try to stay away from it. But this thing right here, it's just a flat out fish catcher, an OG from Zoom. I'm gonna throw this on like a 3/0 EWG. I like EWG hooks, in case you guys haven't noticed. I say that a lot. EWG, EWG, EWG. Just TR that bad boy, run it with a little 1/4 ounce bullet weight, and throw it up shallow and drag it out. Let it do its thing down there on the bottom. It's just such a small, non-intimidating profile, natural enough, looks like a little crawfish. They just flat out eat the Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Craw. But bait that I've been gravitating towards lately that has effortless, realistic, lifelike action, even when you're not doing anything. Some of you guys may have seen some of my features that I've done on this little guy right here on the channel, including some underwater footage that looked absolutely incredible. This is the Bodega 3.5 and the Bodega 4.8. The smaller size Bodegas from 6th Sense. This bait right here, do not sleep on this bait. Again, I'm doing the same thing with this that I'm gonna do with that Speed Craw. I'm gonna rig it up EWG style. You wanna use a 1/0 for the 3.5. This one is really better suited for either a spinning setup or BFS. And there's a little clue on one of the bonus bait categories that we're gonna talk about if you actually make it to the end of this video. But the Bodega 4.8 right there on a little, I think that's a 3/0 EWG. I don't know, experiment, play. I'm not the best at just looking at a hook and knowing exactly what size it is, but that right there, I mean, TR this, same thing. Look at this, little 1/4 ounce pitch black tungsten bullet weight from 6th Sense. That's actually a flipping weight. This right here, fall time heater, butt weight, there's more. If you want something a little bit different, something that a lot of people probably aren't throwing, this guy. Talked about this in the last video as well, the Krug tube. I'll talk about it here again in a minute. But again, Texas rigged this on a smaller EWG hook with a little bullet weight, and that's a killer fall time creature bait. So those are 4. I just gave you 4 really killer finesse creature bait options. The smaller version, the trimmed down rear claw, front claws clipped off variation of the Congo craw. I mean, that if you guys that do like to throw a jig, I mean, that just looks crazy on the back of a finesse jig. You know what? I actually have a Conda finesse swim jig right here, and I think that's Blacklight Gill or something like that. And I think this Black and Blue Pro Congo craw that I trimmed those front claws off of would pair up perfectly. So we sort of have a lot going on here. We got creature bait, we got a finesse jig, we got swim jig. We're combining different elements of these bait categories into one little bass catching morsel right here. You guys want to see me build out this bait to see what this Black and Blue Pro Congo craw looks like on the back of this Conda finesse jig, don't you? Click the like button right now and I'll match these up. We'll play tackle box in, hook this thing onto the back of the swim jig and take a up close and personal look at the pairing. But not until you click the like button. So click the like and then I'll do it. I'll put this bait on the hook and we'll check it out as soon as you click like. All right, that's better. So kind of looking at it, I'm trying to decide, do I want to trim off a little bit of, let's leave it full-size profile. I was gonna trim off just a little bit of that, but I'm gonna leave it alone. Let's just rig it up as it is and take a look at the Congo craw on the back of the Conda finesse swim jig, both from 6 Cents, both available live and direct in full effect on 6centsfishing.com. JR10, punch it in for the win. Screw lock bait keeper. It's gonna keep your soft plastics locked down on your swim jig or whatever jig. It's gonna help you preserve and maintain your soft plastics so that you go through less soft plastics and then in turn end up spending less money. Bait preservation is the name of the game when it comes to that screw lock. And I rigged it upside down, but that is okay. That is okay because look at that thing, dude. Look at that black and blue pro. Heck yeah, dude, those colors match up really well. Actually don't mind that brighter blue being on the top side of that bait either. Heck yeah, dude. Fire. Super heater. The Conda finesse swim jig and the Congo craw 3.8. And as far as the main categories go, we did it. We got through them all, guys. You got the freaking square bill, my #1 gunner. You got the swim jig and the chatterbait, little 1-2 punch, same but different. You got the topwater action, some of the most fun that you can have, and the topwater bite will continue to crack off in the fall. Then, you know, a little bit less traditional, you got a schmedium glide bait or swim bait. And then you got your finesse creature baits and your minnow baits, your soft jerk baits. I mean, that's a lot of bases covered there in this video. We talked about a lot of different stuff, but there's one more category that I have to throw in here because I feel like it's just gonna be dynamite here in the fall time. And that, of course, is, I'm talking BFS, the little stuff, the booger finesse, the little bitty finesse baits. This right here, we put this together in the last video. This is the Dome jig head from 6 Cents, 3/32 ounce Dome jig head terminal tackle paired up with that Krug tube. Match made in freaking heaven. Gonna be a BFS killer. This little tiny BFS sized shallow square bill that my buddy painted up again. Same dude that painted up the bluegill from earlier and that crappie multi-joint. He painted this little finesse square bill as well. Looks really killer. And then you got baits like the Mega Bass Karashi, small bait fish imitators up shallow. Really quick here, I'll give you guys the details on my BFS setup. As you can see, I actually have a Karashi tied on right now. This is the Corrado BFS Dobbins Sierra Series SUF 700C 7-foot BFS rod. And that's the deal. The BFS stuff is gonna continue to be a key player for me into the fall. And I'm looking forward to not only throwing the little finesse Bodega 3.5 some more with that 1/0 hook on the BFS. I'm also gonna try the little Krug tube out with the Dome jig head and report back to let you guys know how that does for me. In addition to all the BFS stuff, this is the last little bait that I'm gonna tell you about. Throwing this one on the spinning heater. Using my spinning setup to throw this. I feel like this is one that a lot of people are gonna sleep on here in the fall. And that is the Party Prop 80 from 6 Cents. This little guy, check it out. It's a prop bait, a spy bait. And this will be a key player towards the end of fall into winter time. This is not to be slept on. It's sort of a go-between between any of the minnow, shad, bait fish style category stuff that we talked about in this video. This is a go-between. You know, it's a minnow bait. You can fish it up high, reel it fast. You can let it sink and fish it through those deeper schools. Killer little minnow bait right here. Don't sleep on the Party Prop from 6 Cents. I feel like this is one that not a lot of people are gonna be throwing in the fall and winter time. So I had to throw it in as a bonus in this video. All that right there, this was a long video. That's my fall time confidence. That is what I will be doing as we continue to venture into the cooler months here in Texas. You guys let me know in the comments if I left anything out, or if there's any one of these categories that you would switch out for something else. Are you one of the guys that loves throwing a jig in the fall time? Are you definitely throwing a hollow body frog? Are you gonna consider, or maybe do you already implement some of these techniques that I broke down for you in today's fall fishing video? Let me know. Love you guys. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video, but that's about all I got for you today. That about does it. That about wraps her on up. So I'm gonna say goodbye for now, and I will see you on the next one.